Hello guys and welcome for the second episode of my New World series, New World Needs. In the previous episode of the series, we were talking about the matchmaking in the PvP and more specifically the matchmaking in OPR, which technically is the only battleground that we have since day one. If you want to check what was the suggestion from my side for improvements of this game mode, you can find the link for episode 1 in the description below. In today's episode, we will discuss another idea that I believe a lot of other players have towards the future of our favorite MMO, New World. If you are still wondering what would that be, well, let me spit it out. New World needs a PvE raid. A raid that can take 20 to 30 people, and it's not something that you can do on daily basis for around 5.5 minutes for a single run. This actually beats my record in the bed, but that's another story. As many other things, the same goes here. AGS should not try to reinvent everything that is already on the market. Instead, they should just implement the best features from different games which already showed for the last couple of years that people are highly interested into them. Such feature is exactly a weekly PvE raid. The one and only run that you can have for the whole duration of the week with few hours of game time with all your gaming friends trying to conquer the next room of extremely powerful enemies and bosses. The focus and concentration or the amount of caffeine in order to be awake and to give the 100% out of yourself so you would not fuck up the mechanics because you don't want to wipe everyone else. This is something that we should look forward to. This is something that the PvE side of the game would definitely need in the near future. Even to this day, many of the older generation MMOs are still played exactly because of the raids, as they provide a challenging difficulty for all the players in such content. AGS should make a PvE raid, but, and I underline but, it should never be even close to what they did with the Brimstone update. The 10-man trial, for which I don't even remember the name anymore because it was extremely boring and useless in terms of rewards, or the one big worm which was used as a sponge for all of the DPS players out there. The same worm which had to be the greatest and hardest content in the PvE of New World that only a small portion of the player base would be able to complete. And only to find out several days later that it was destroyed by numerous groups in less than 10 minutes, and even getting to a point that it was speedrunned under 5 minutes. Please AGS, don't do that again. So without reminding more and more about the past, even though it's really important to take notes from the past mistakes, I suggest the below idea. Of course, like always, it is just the baseline, and you as a community as well as the AGS staff and everyone involved into New World can add up more ideas or more different things to this, and of course they can also disagree or change some of the things. My idea is the following. The raid should contain 20, 25 or 30 players. It would contain 5 different stages and each of them will get progressively harder. Each stage should have a special aesthetic to it and should be easy to tell in which part of the raid people are currently being. Before every segment there will be a respawn area which all the dead people can revive, and of course each of those parts from the raid will have a large number of mobs which will be placed on different locations. They will serve as a warm-up for all the players into the raid, and after defeating all of them, a boss or few bosses will spawn. Typically, the most interesting part of those raids are the bosses, and this is mainly due to the mechanics which are related to them. It is extremely important that the mechanics are complicated enough to make people use their brain and to put a little bit more thought process into them. They should never be with a difficulty level of impossible, but it would be a way more interesting and engaging way if people would wipe several times before they found out all of the different mechanics that are needed to happen. I won't go into details for what mechanics can be applied, as the video will turn into a movie. Instead, I would just suggest that Amazon Gaming Studio will put a bit more effort and a bit more of what they had already on the warm raid, and of course it will become a greater challenge. The rewards for the raid could be really high quality gear, but instead I would propose to include this time a lot of gold, prismatic materials, prismatic scarabs, azote inductors, chromatic seals, and basically all the highest tier materials which are currently in the game. The influx should not also destroy the economy, so that's why those items should be in limited quantities and of course should serve as a great reward. It is also key to mention that the raid should be extremely hard to be completed on all 5 stages, and that indeed 10% of all players will be the only ones that can make it into the first month. This way we can guarantee for the players that the game can still serve something as a challenge and they can still strive towards some achievement. At this current moment we lack any kind of content that can be a challenge for all the players. All of the PvP modes don't have any matchmaking and we suffer from imbalance in arenas and OPRs. PvE is completely gone and nobody is even trying to do more than an M1 if they just need an artifact. Basically the game turned into PvP equals wars, and this is of course only during the evening time, and of course for PvE we kinda related to elite chest runs during the day. With that tempo I personally think that there is not much to do in the game, and I also don't think that it will make it far. As last addition to my rules for the raid, all players, regardless if they are 20, 25 or 30, will be locked to each other upon entry. This means that the groups who are entering to attempt the raid will be placing their names and reputations on a table, as they won't be able to change the players until the weekly reset. The people who love to troll others or perform extremely poorly will be known in no time, and this way others will try to avoid them. I'm pretty sure that this will also create a bond between the players in each company, but also in the servers as a whole. They will be able to explore and learn new things and tactics while progressing through the raid. Last but not least, it is important to mention that one such raid should remain a challenge for at least 2 months. If people are able to run it down in no time without even try-harding it, then basically there is no point of adding such content. I remember that one of the devs said in a video that they expect the community to be interested in seasonal content, which usually lasts for 3 months, for around 30% of the time. This basically means that you will have people coming back for your game to check out all the new changes and content, to only let them leave in less than a month because you failed to keep them interested. In my honest opinion, this should never be the case, but what about you guys? Do you think that seasonal content should be interesting just for 1 out of 3 months? Do you think that New World would be better off if there was a nicely done raid with a weekly reset? Let me know what you think about this topic and make sure to share it with your friends who are still playing the game. You can do that in the comments below or in my Discord community channel, for which I will leave a link in the description. And with that guys, I want to thank you for watching, and as always, I will see you on the next one.